my sermon title for today and the way I want us to look at Peter really goes a step deeper. Because, you see, in order to walk on water, you have to get out of the boat. Jesus was making some very important truth claims. Let me lay you a background of what is happening. His disciples were out on the lake, out on the Sea of Galilee, and they saw him coming towards them, and it frightened them, as it would me. If I was out on a boat, any of y'all go out on boats? Ever been on a boat in a storm? Right? And if you were out on a boat in a storm, lightning, winds, waves, and you saw a dude walking towards you on the waters, what would you do? I would freak. I'd have a come apart. I mean, I really would freak. I think about a Bugs Bunny cartoon and Bugs running across the top of the water because he was so afraid of something. You know, a common cartoon trope. But Jesus, walking to his disciples, was making some very clear truth claims. For the Jewish culture at that time, they would have thought of the sea as something dangerous. They would have thought of the sea as chaos, and they would have been afraid. You see, Jews weren't seafaring people. They may be put out in boats to go fishing off on the shores of the Sea of Galilee or off into the Dead Sea, but they were not fisher people. Seafaring people. They were not going out on the Mediterranean people. They were lakes and rivers people. And the idea of winds and waves was chaos to them. And Jesus was making a statement. I am the Lord over all the chaos. I want to take you back. Y'all, hold on. We're going back to Genesis. All right, we're going all the way back to Genesis. When God created, it says in Genesis 1, and the Spirit of the Lord hovered over the deep and chaos. And He spoke to it, and He created out of the chaos. That means God is in control of the chaos. He has authority over the chaos. And Jesus, by walking on the water, was making that statement. The disciples, I don't think, really particularly were all that into that statement at the moment. I think they were really scared out of their minds. And then He speaks to them. He says, come. Yeah, old Peter failed. He sunk. But I want you to note that Peter was the only one of the 12 that got out of the boat. He was the only one that had the faith to get out and try. You see, failure is not something that happens to you. I want you to get this. Failure is not something that happens to you. It's a way of thinking about what happens to us. We have a choice in taking what the world would call a failure and turning it into success. I got to go to the FCA breakfast a few years ago that they have over at the Landers Center. And they had a guy there speaking named Inky Woods. Y'all know Inky? Great story. Lost youth in his arm. He is heading to the pros. Could have said, man, just awful situation. Awful thing happened to him. It was a huge failure. But his life turned out to be more important, more powerful for speaking to young people, bringing the gospel of Christ to the world. Inky took his tragedy and turned it into triumph. Failure is a choice for us on how we're going to deal with it. Peter may have fallen, but he got out of the boat. How many of us never really even get out of the boat? You see, I think we talk about calling only when we're talking to people that are going on to ministry, right? Well, what's your calling, Brother Sparks? Well, I think I'm called to ministry. Are you called to full-time Christian ministry? Or are you called to be a lay leader? Or are you called to be a song director? Or a worship pastor? Or a youth pastor? What is your calling, Brother Sparks? Well, I don't know. God's just calling me to do something. Well, what are you called to do? And we only talk to preachers that way, right? And I fall into the trap just like everybody else. But what if we started asking this question? What is your calling? And we ask it to everybody. Look at somebody next to you and say, what's your calling? No, say it real sweetly. What's your calling? Right? What is your calling? Because here's the truth. Everyone is called. Don't mistake this, and don't miss this. Every one of us is called. Every Christian has a calling. Jesus didn't say, Peter, get out of the boat, did he? Jesus didn't say James or John or Timothy. He just said, come. But the only one with the courage to get out of the boat was Peter. That took great courage and great faith. So before we beat Peter up for falling, let's laud him for taking that first step. Now, Jesus did give him a hard time. Said, Peter, oh, you of little faith. Right? But the point for Peter was, what are you going to do with this now? I think this was all part of God's plan. I think Peter needed to learn some things. Peter's like a lot of us. Peter's a little bit of a hothead, right? He is real excitable, and he was generally the first to jump in and be real fired up. And then something bad would happen, and then he pouted. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Any of y'all like that? Any of y'all pout? No? Right? Right? We're like, I will confess my great struggle. I have very little faith in my Rebel football team. I can't even watch it, guys. I don't even put it on because I'm so stressed out over it. I just can't, right? It's like I can't do it. I don't have the faith. I can't take that chance of getting my heart broken again, right? I can't take a chance of stepping out in faith. That's minor. But most of us make decisions like that every day of our lives. Most of us make decisions like that of, I can't do that because I can't get hurt again. I can't fail again. I can't lose again. I can't get my heart broken again. We make decisions based on our aversion to failure. Not getting done what we were supposed to do is not failure. Failure is when we give up after that. Failure is a mindset. You see, sometimes we get what I like to call in my life paralysis. I get paralyzed and I get locked into these mindsets where I do something and it doesn't succeed. And then I'm negative about it. And then I'm grumpy. And then I think, well, you're just a failure. And you're just awful. And you can't do anything right. And then something else comes up and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to. I don't want to have to deal with that. And it becomes a spiral of negativity. Any of y'all deal with those spirals of negativity? that just suck you down. And it's like a cancer that just pulls you in. The failure is not that first thing you did that you did or didn't do, that you did wrong or didn't do. The failure is how we adapt with it, how we cope, how we go forward. The other thing is like what I do with Ole Miss. I walked in yesterday. I had to do something. I took the girls something to drink yesterday for band stuff, and then I went and got Holly and I lunch. At 2:30, but still at lunch, and then the Ole Miss game was on, and I hadn't been watching it. And I didn't have the heart. Or as my mama would say, my nerves just couldn't take it. Right? And so I ate my Freddy's sandwich, chicken sandwich, and then I said to Holly, "All right, I'm going into the other room." And I went into the other room and turned on a TV show on my phone to drown everything else out. Closed the door. Cranked up. I was watching, I think, an episode of Blue Bloods or something. If you watch that. And just loudly, because I just couldn't deal. That's called avoidance. Y'all ever avoid things? Look at somebody and go, do you avoid things? Look at somebody else and go, do you avoid things? Do you avoid things? Do you run away from them? Right? Because running away is sometimes our most likely response. We run away from conflicts. We run away from problems. We just distance ourselves. That's what I was doing yesterday. I'm not saying I was right. I'm saying I was wrong. And it was weak. Right? It was weak and powerless because I was running away from it. I couldn't take it. Right? And you and I do the same things. How many times in your life have you avoided a place to avoid a person that you had a conflict with? Y'all ever done that? Or avoided a person that you were in conflict with just so you didn't have to deal with them? Right? How many of you have been walking down the aisle in Walmart and saw somebody that you were in conflict with and turned around and walked the other way? You ever done that? Well, maybe not Walmart, but wherever, pick a place. Right? We do that. We choose to run away, to not face our fears. I've been in a lot of churches over the years, and I've seen it happen interpersonally over and over and over again. Just choosing not to deal with each other, not to speak truth. The other thing is that I've seen churches over the years, because they have not always succeeded. I wouldn't say it about this church, but in a lot of the smaller churches that I have been in contact with or I've spoken at, so many of them get stuck in this mindset of failure. Because maybe they've been declining for 40 years, and they can talk about how good it was in the 70s or 80s, and it's just been going down and down. And they're brokenhearted and all of those things, and they're just like, what's going to become of us? And they get scared. And they lock up, and they say, I just want somebody to keep doing my service until it's time for my funeral, and then I want people to bury me. Isn't that a sad place to be? Just static. Because here's the lie that the world will tell you. There is no such thing as holding our own. Let me say that again. There is no such thing as a static environment. We are either moving closer to God and His mission for us, or we're moving further away. We cannot just tread water. Right? We cannot just tread water. We're even moving closer to Him, or we're slided further away from Him. We're either getting closer to God, we're getting closer to His mission, we're aligning the church with His mission, or we are falling away. It's simple math. Which one are you going to do? What steps are you willing to go to? You've already taken huge ones. We're 2 years old. Right? We're 2 years old. Oh my goodness. And the amazing things that God has done. I mean, just the last thing, like bringing Gessie to us. I mean, a gift. You were a gift from God to us. It was a miracle. And watching Gessie play, she approaches the keys and does this. And Miss Bobby did that too. Our blessed Miss Bobby that went on to glory. It's great to watch. God just keeps blessing us. He sent us Olivia. And there's some everybody hold on. There's some announcements coming up in the next 3 to 4 weeks that you got to lock in on. Hold up. Just be here. You don't want to miss it. You got to hold on. I mean, big time news. Hold on. Be here the next 3 to 4 weeks. I ain't telling you when I'm announcing it, but I got something to announce. Y'all ready? Yeah, y'all ready? I'm not getting elected president, no. I'm not running for governor. No. Just hold on. God has been miraculous to us. So when I say, you people, my church here, us, or as my daddy would say, us'ns, we have made huge jumps. We have done some pretty powerful things. We've jumped out of the boat, right? We have. Now I'm asking you to get out of your own boat, to step out, to do things you didn't think you could do. Joanne, do you remember last year or 2 years ago when we were doing the yard sale? And I often talk about how we are a lay-led church and the lady need to lead it. And y'all don't need me. Like, you don't. I'm good for about 20 minutes on Sunday morning. That's all I'm good for, right? But Joanne came up to me right about there at the end of it and said, I get it. I get it. We made this happen and you didn't do anything. Right? We made this happen and you didn't do anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Right? What is God calling you to do? I'm not asking, are you called to be a preacher? I'm not asking, are you called to be a Sunday school teacher? Although we could use some. I'm not asking what you're called to do. I'm just asking, what are you called to do? Now, what did he say? What was that? I said, I'm not asking what you're called to do. I'm not coming to you and saying, what are you called to do? But I'm asking you, what is God calling you to do for yourself? This should be your prayer. God, what are you calling me to do? Because every one of us have a call. Teenagers, where's my teenagers? I got some of them up here scattered around. Teenagers, do you think you are exempted just because you're teenagers? You have a call. God's calling you to do something. I don't know what it is at the moment, but God is calling you to do something. Maybe it's sing in the choir. Maybe it's work in missions. Maybe it's take leadership in small groups. We have small groups on Wednesday nights, and our girls' small group rotate leadership among the girls doing the worship service, doing the devotion, right? Maybe. Whatever God is calling you to, get out of the boat. You'll never know if you can walk on water if you don't. And so what if you sink? So did Peter. Let me tell you right now, it's okay to fail. It's okay for whatever we tried right then not to work. I have failed far more in my life than I've succeeded. I have failed far more in my life than I have succeeded. And I have learned way more from those failures than I have any successes. The best learning environment for me is flat on my face in the mud going, how did that happen? Not that I should strive for that, but that's where I learned the best. I want to give you permission to try and it not work. Can I do that? Can I give y'all permission to try something and it not work? I got a friend that is now a preacher, and it took him 9 years to get his undergraduate. 9 years, 5 institutions, and like 7 or 8 majors. I mean, he had to go all the way around the world. Just couldn't figure it out, right? And you know what? It's okay. He's one of the best preachers I know. Don't let the world dictate how success is, and don't let them dictate for failure. Because the world tells us that Peter failed, and I think Peter succeeded. Because I think the character he built in that moment made him the rock that Jesus built his church on. The leader of God's church. I truly believe that there's nothing we can't do without Jesus Christ. But I also believe that we can do anything through Jesus Christ. Let me say that again. I don't think there's anything that we can do without Jesus. But I also believe that Jesus is everything to making it happen. And there's nothing we can't do when He's in it. When He is in it, He will make it happen. You notice that Jesus didn't let Peter sink and die. Right? He did not let Peter sink and die. He lifted him up. One of my favorite songs as a kid was, I was sinking deep in sin, far from the peaceful shore, very deeply stained within, sinking to rise no more. But the master of the sea, despair, cried. From the waters He lifted me, now safe am I. Love lifted me. Love lifted me. When nothing else could help, love lifted me. I sang that when I was a kid. It was Jesus' love that lifted Peter. It will be Jesus' love that lifts you. That He will not allow you to fail utterly. He will always be there to lift you up. He will always be there to support you, nurture you, care for you, and grow you. And the falling down and skinning of your knee today may be building you for that thing that He is going to do tomorrow. It's up to us. Will we respond appropriately? Will we keep getting out of the boat? Will we keep trying to walk on water? Or will we run away from our problems? Will we avoid them? Will we hide? I don't know. I want God to bless me. I want God to use me. I want to fully walk into my calling. You might say, Pete, Sparks, you're a preacher. You got your calling. Well, as you age, things change. I thought I was supposed to be a youth minister all my life. I was a really good youth minister. I built big youth programs. I knew how to do it. We had lots of fun. We went whitewater rafting a lot. It was great. And then I found out that I was getting too old to do lock-ins and decided, nah, not so much. And the night that I knew I was done, the night that I had to get the Baptist preacher's son off the steeple twice at church. It's like, I'm done. Thank you. What's next, Lord? What's next? There's always a next. There's always a next chapter in life. There's always the next chapter. What's the next challenge, the next thing He's calling you to? I'm too old to be a youth director. Well, be a contemporary pastor of a contemporary service. Great. I'm not allowed to do that anymore. Well, then lead the senior adult early service that's high church, traditional. Okay, I'll do that. Whatever God is calling you to is the next step. And He is the one that's constantly calling us to reinvent ourselves. And not necessarily full-time Christian service, but in your life, He's calling you to reinvent yourself each time that there's something new happens. Right? Maybe you have something you volunteered for in the church all your life. I've done this. And suddenly God calls you to a new area that you have no knowledge of. And you're like, I can't do that. And He's like, trust me, I got this. We'll learn together. And it works. Over and over in my life, I have seen people do the things that they specifically said, I can't do that. Okay. God just smiles at you and goes, okay. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. Whatever it is, yes, you can. Just get out the boat. Just take that first step. If you sink, we will help pick you up because we will be the hands and feet of Christ. Nobody will blame you. Nobody will think ugly thoughts about you. And nobody will make fun of you or talk ugly about you. Well, I can't promise that your spouse won't. Or, in my case, my children give me a hard time more than anybody else. Well, probably just my son more than anybody, right? I can't promise that. But what I'll promise you is we're going to be here for you. Just get out the boat. Whatever you do, just get on out the boat. Take that leap. And if you're sitting here and God is speaking to you about full-time ministry and you're sitting here thinking, I can do what Brother Sparks does better than he does, then get out of the boat. Come on. I'll be excited for you. I'll be excited for you. You probably can. Because I can't do very much. I don't have very many talents. I'm not real smart. And I just don't do many things very well. I guess the only thing I do is I can jump out of boats. That's about all I do. But I can jump out of a boat. Didn't say I could swim. But I can get out of the boat. Will you join me as a lake walker? Will you join me in jumping out of that boat and give it a shot? Whether you're 99 or 9. Do I got any 9, 10? 10. Whether you're 99 or 10. Jump out of the boat. Jump out of the boat. Take a chance. Be a Peter. Try to walk on water. After all, the winds and waves, He obeys. Amen? In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.